Welcome back, you're watching Power News. And in today's episode, we are discussing IT in power distribution and smart grid. Well, in India, the current weak link is the utilities. 50 DISCOMs still struggles to be financially viable, mainly because of subsidy, power theft, also because of poor efficiency. Don't you think these figures could surely hamper the smart grid vision?
Sometimes these theft, AT&C losses, theft, and they cannot be actually, somehow we are not, in spite of legal support, we are not able to reduce it. But this political situations and the local positions, they will change as IT will give the data. So we have gone into that concept that IT, when they capture the metering data through a smart grid, like what we have done in Gujarat, this 84 towns, and there are losses we will be observing. Then once you capture the data and show to the public, then I think this is one way of reducing the losses. So I don't think this this investment in smart grid, it will in fact reduce the AT&C losses if it is done properly.
Let's take your view, Mr. Nasim.
Thinking smart grid will bring down the losses may not be appropriate at this point of time. Smart grid may be required to manage a peak load. So if you look at that point of view, it is going to help us. If you think smart grid is going to reduce losses, it may not in the near future. So smart grid should be looked at to reduce peak load, how to manage our peak load, because we have a very huge shortage of peak load. If you think in that direction, probably smart grid is going to help us.
I think particularly the losses is an issue which the companies who are actually working on smart grid arena, who are developing solutions, they have to come up with a solution. Metering, having the data and educating the people, these are all various steps that we have to do. But there is also the last mile, I would say, where the technology has to innovate. And innovation in these kind of areas is the need of the hour for the Indian scenario, and the technology companies have to come up with necessary technological solution, not only a management solution or metering or other types of solutions. And this is where I think the industry have to rise up to the occasion and deliver such kind of solutions.
Well, utilities have no reward for performance and no punishment for non-performance. Can't we make some regulatory framework to address this problem?
So the utilities today, 98% of the utilities are state-owned, and their financial performance is reflected on the state's budgets. In fact, I mean on the fiscal position of the state government. So I'm sure they are aware of what they are expected to do actually. But fixation of tariffs and other issues, there have been, the Electricity Act has laid down very clear guidelines as to what should be the tariff and various other provisions of that. What is the economic return which is to be earned, things like that. There has to be considerable reform in the area of tariffs, we believe, and also in the performance and efficiency of the state utilities, which has to be there. Perhaps the need is to devise such systems that the rewards of improved efficiency are shared between the consumers as well as the utility. If the difference between average cost of supply and average revenue receipts is very high in the rural areas, that should be given as an explicit subsidy through the budget. It should not be loaded onto the distribution company's balance sheets. If we give that, that should be quantified very correctly, and after quantification, that amount should be transferred to the utility so that it remains economically viable business operation. That will take care of this thing. Today we see that this does not happen. I mean, and that is why it gets loaded on the balance sheet and there is a financial mess, and one is not very clear. On the other side, we are also not able to distinguish the good or the bad performance of the distribution companies because it gets involved with the social objectives. So the need is to clearly delineate these factors as to that. I think would be an excellent job which a regulator could do, rather than merely focusing upon what subsidies and tariffs we are there. Let's make a clear distinction. And to that, digital layer in the power sector would be of help, because it will help in quantifying how much is supplied to whom and for what time.
Smart grid has the capability to accommodate technical difficulties of integrating renewable sources like wind and solar to the grid, providing further reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. What do you have to say about it?
What are the possibilities? We really need to understand what are the issues in integrating renewables with the grid. And even we should also look at what solutions are there for off-grid as well. Okay. But with reference to integrating renewables, basically one of the key issues is to really try to find out what are the load patterns in a day, and then trying to match that with the generation, basically balancing demand and supply on a daily basis. And here technology is absolute must to really understand. Today we have a lot of new, I would say, policies coming in when you have open access or special incentives for renewable energy usage and so on. So you really need the digital communication layer on top to understand the generation as well as the usage. And this is where, once again, I would say we need a lot of innovation, because in India, for example, solar would have a different profile for generation, and wind would have a different profile. Even from state to state or district to district, wind would be different. So it is necessary to deploy technology to understand exactly what is the forecasting methods, models, and then we can reach the objective of integrating it.
Well, customers are the single most important stakeholder in the success of smart grids, and they need to be better informed of the advantages of a smart grid, like improved reliability, efficient consumption management, which can in turn lead to lower electricity bill.
In the end, all of this is actually is to the benefit of the consumers. We have to, I would take this opportunity to look at one aspect where the consumers also can be an active participant in this exercise. You know, when the digital communication enables two-way response, then consumers can participate in the demand response system. Suppose we have time of the day metering introduced, for instance, and if the consumers know that there is a time of the day metering, let's say on the peak hours, let's say in the evening and the mornings, you know, they can participate in load management or demand response, whichever word you would like to prefer to choose, by switching off, let's say, their ACs, or shifting the consumption, discretionary consumption, if I may use this word, to some other hour when you know, the peak is not there, and then we can reward the consumers through, you know, some schemes like bonus and all this. So we require to have some innovative schemes, and but this innovation would come, you know, once the enabling infrastructure is set up. And this enabling infrastructure is again, ad infinitum saying, is the IT and the communication layer, you know. Once we have the IT and communication layer, such clever innovations can be made where we can involve the consumers into an active participant in the power chain, you know. Yeah.
Well, it's time to take a short break here. You keep watching Power News.